Today I'm going to be taking a look at Vario's newest release. It is an update to their Empire series. The Empire was actually the first watch I ever reviewed on the channel. Please don't go look back at that one. It's a little bit more rough, but let's see what they updated. They add a little bit more fun colors, and hope you enjoy the video. Let's get into it. We have a diameter of 38 millimeters, lug to lug of 45.6, thickness of 11.6, and a lug width of 20 millimeters. So some other general specifications for the watch. We're gonna have the Seiko NH38 movement in this particular watch. They also do a hand-wound version with a see-through case back. I believe that's the Miyota 6T33 or something like that, which is slightly more expensive, and it doesn't have every color variation, but I think the Seiko automatic is kind of where it's at. We also have a sapphire crystal in the front with an inner AR coating. We have 50 meters of stated water resistance with no screw down crown. We do have hand winding, we do have hacking, all that good stuff. And other than that, the watch retails at $348. So moving into the dial here, we see that we do have this very nice, clean, Art Deco inspired dial, obviously, and it is in this beautiful light blue coloration, almost kind of like an ice blue. We also see we have these darker blue hands that contrast against the dial. They are just regular, I believe, painted or plastic kind of blue hands, but at this price point, that's kind of what you expect to see. That it's not going to be heat blued. I do think the color plays nicely against the light blue dial though. Vario did go for a more Art Deco feel on this dial layout. We have a more sectioned out area for the numerals. It is alternating for all the evens on the outside. We can also see it kind of has a lot of both actual depth and perceived depth. So we have the main section out here which holds the numerals. We can obviously see they are sectioned off in the black, but we also have this thin circular pattern going around it in this white print. I think it's really nice, adds some just kind of visual interest to the watch. In the middle portion, we have a textured and stepped down dial, adding a little bit of depth to the watch. It is very nicely done. I just like the type of pattern that they went with. I think it looks nice. I think it looks cool. I really like the use of the skeletonized hands as well. I don't think there really is a reason to have lume on this watch, and I think the skeletonized hands kind of just adds a little bit of interest to the watch. Overall, very cleanly done dial, just Vario lettering up there, no Empire or anything else at the 6 o'clock. We have primarily black and white elements on the dial outside of the actual blue of the dial itself. And I think it just looks clean, it's well done, and I do really like the font, the style, and just everything else that just comes with this dial, really. Zooming in quite a bit closer, we can see just how detailed that kind of pattern is in the middle. We can see, just like the other Empire series, it starts off as these very small triangles near the center stack, going out to these bigger triangles towards the outside. And I just think it is a pretty mesmerizing, beautiful looking pattern. I think it is really well done considering the price point, and I just like the way it looks. We can see here the kind of shine of those blue hands. Not the highest quality by any means, but I do think it's a nice touch to the watch overall. Doesn't look too shabby in my opinion. Looking at that Vario logo there, you can see how nice and three-dimensional it is. It is really just applied, done really cleanly. There's no imperfections in that, no imperfections that I can really see in the pattern itself. All the kind of text and just design elements are really well done. We do see we have a kind of little dentish slash dot there near the 10 o'clock, but honestly I've never noticed it from kind of the bird's eye view, I guess you can say. And at this level you can really appreciate the fact that this outer kind of minutes track, or just track in general, has a brushed finish to it, which I think plays really nicely. It just adds another layer of dimensionality, another layer of finishing, really. One thing I really like about this watch is just how kind of three-dimensional and inky all these black elements are. You can see kind of the outer track there with its black, just kind of, it has a pretty defined lip to it. The numerals themselves are a little bit flatter, but you can still tell they are kind of more three-dimensional than just plainly printed. Overall, I do really just like the look of everything. It's very cleanly done, very nicely done, and overall, I just love a good texture, and this is a beautiful color as well. Moving on to the case of this watch, it's a little bit more simple. We can see we have all brushing on the top sides here. We have a kind of vertical brushing here on the case sides. Nice kind of knurled onion style crown. We have drilled lug holes, which I always love to see, just make strap changing really, really easy. The lugs kind of almost look like they are like welded on or separately pieced. Obviously they aren't, but it's kind of a nice look and style to the watch itself. Kind of adds a little bit more of a step down feel, a little bit more just dimensionality to the watch design. You can see the way the polishing is done here on the mid case makes the mid case just visually appear very, very thin, as well as the fact that the lugs just turn down extremely well. So they come to meet pretty much at or maybe even slightly below the case back. So you know this is going to wear really, really well on the wrist, despite its slightly thicker size. I mean, really isn't that thick at all. Nothing crazy to talk about for the finishing here. It is machine finished. There isn't going to be some kind of amazing hand finished feel about it, but it is really the Dow we're paying for here, and the case is nice for what it is. And really quickly, the case back, I think this is a really cool addition. The NH38 movement isn't anything crazy nice to look at, so I think this kind of nice lasered logo on the back here is a welcome addition. So moving on to how this watch wears on the wrist. Earlier I was wearing this nice Seiko 5 here. And there we have the watch on my 6.5 inch wrist. I think you can tell it wears extremely well. The lug to lug isn't long by any means. The 38mm case in itself is just a really, really nice size. I think this watch is just a super fun watch. It wears well. It's a nice kind of way to add some color into the collection. And overall, I think it's pretty comfortable. I like the way it wears. Wears pretty thinly and close to the wrist, as I was saying earlier. As you can see there from the side as well, it does curve down pretty nicely into the wrist, and it's got a lot of flexion there without any digging or kind of sharp case sides, which is always nice to see. And basically, yeah, the Vario is a pleasure to wear overall. Moving on to some other straps. Earlier, the strap that was kind of featured on the Vario this entire video was this Vario Twill NATO in this black and blue pattern. I think it pairs really nicely with the watch in general. It just kind of adds to that blue theme, while, I mean, honestly, it plays with both the black and the blue themes on this watch. So I think it pairs well, looks nice, and a kind of a good way to dress the watch down a little bit. Next, we have this nice beige canvas strap from Archer Straps. You can also get it from Barton. I just prefer how the Archer Straps ends in this circular tang. Let's get it on the wrist. I think this is a way, again, to add a little bit more of a casual feel to the watch. I think the kind of sandy color with the light blue go really well together. If you want a little bit more of a dressed up look to it, we do have this kind of nice distressed leather strap also from Vario. This, I think, pairs really well with the blue tones as well. Again, a little bit dressier because it's a more traditional leather strap. On wrist though, I think you can still get away with this being a casual kind of look. And yeah, I just like this combo. And of course, the white Archer silicone strap, I think this pairs super well. I think the white and the blue tones give a very, very cool feel to the watch, both literally and kind of temperature-wise. And I just like the way it looks, of course, because I put this strap on pretty much everything. And there we have it on the wrist. Really nice combo, in my opinion. I wear it on this a lot. Very, very comfortable, very, very summer feeling. And basically, since this is called the Vario Summer, I guess it works. So pros and cons of this Vario Empire here. And I think just kind of one of the main things is the size and the color of it, the design of it really. Of course the 38mm is just going to wear well. It's going to kind of toe that line between dressy and casual really, really nicely. I think that the color is just very, very fun on it. I think it also helps it lean casual a little bit more. They have a silverish, whitish version that is a little bit more dedicated dressy, but I think this color is a little bit more fun, a little bit more, I guess, youthful in a way. And overall, I just think the design is clean. It has a nice texture to it. It has this very playful color. It is by no means too flashy, I think. And lastly, in my opinion, I just think this is kind of a unique offering. There's not a lot of kind of dress watches in the micro brand community. There aren't even really a lot of dress watches out there. The kind of like first one, classic one that comes to mind is like the Presage kind of cocktail time-ish series from Seiko. And this does retail a little bit cheaper primary market. I mean, on secondary market, you can find some cocktails for fairly affordable prices. But I think kind of the coloration of it, the size of it, the feel of this watch kind of beats that out on a couple different levels. So I think this is a pretty unique offering for what it is. I think you get good value for money. And it is just a really nice watch, I think. Moving on to cons, and honestly, I don't think there are many, or at least in my personal opinion, there aren't many. And kind of one of the biggest ones for me would be the lack of 6 o'clock symmetry on the dial. I just like symmetry on my watches. I think it just looks better. I think it looks clean. I think it is just nice. I mean, you have Pateks and Vacherons out there that only have the branding at 12 o'clock, so they must be doing something right. But for me, I just do like a nice kind of consistent 12 o'clock branding, 6 o'clock branding. I just think it looks better, ties in the watch together, and it doesn't hurt the design necessarily, but it's something I would like to see. And really just other than that, I think that, I mean, the blued hands aren't amazing by any means. I think it plays well with the coloration of this dial in particular. On the green dial version, they went with blued hands, which I don't really understand that combination there. But I think it would have been just nicer maybe to just use regular stainless steel silver hands, or even kind of like white. White may have popped, may have looked interesting. I just am not super crazy about the use of these kind of blued hands. That's just my personal opinion. So final thoughts on the Vario, and I just think it's a great watch. The Empire series is a series I've always really liked. I've owned, I think, 2 of them already in the previous iterations, and now I own this one. So they are just great watches in my opinion. I love kind of the value for money you're getting. I love the texture. I love the playful colors they went with this time around. And if you're just kind of like looking for a fun dress watch, or even just a nice way to add color into the collection, this is a really, really good option at the price point. Overall, it's a great watch. I hope you enjoy it if you add one into your collection. I always enjoy having one in mine personally. So thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you in another one.